morning, everyone. Welcome to the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Sally Watts, and it's my pleasure to greet you here this morning. So we're going to start, like we do every Sunday, by singing Spirit of Life. We have the music by Jeff Lovejoy, and I've got Catherine and Tuvia here who will join me up front. And we're going to sing Spirit of Life to welcome you to our fellowship. Ready? You know, it just is lovely to be able to sing that song and know the words. You know, I don't have to look down and read them. It's just a testament to the years and years and years we've been singing this song. So thank you, everybody. So announcements. I have a really big announcement. Number one, we have cleaned out most of the space here for our remodel. And it's all off into a storage area. And we're going to be interviewing contractors next week. And hopefully we can begin construction, design, construction, renovation, all of that in a very short order of time. The next big news is we have a friend of FOOF who really wants to have an impact. And they have offered to match every dollar that we raise for the remodel, specifically for the remodel, 1-to-1. So if you donate $10, this person will match it $10. You want to give us 50, this person will give us 50. We are so fortunate to have somebody who really wants to have an impact and wants to contribute what they can to help us succeed. So in the e-blast today, you will have seen that flyer, a little notice about making your dollars stretch into twice as much, okay? So when you make that donation, contribution, whatever you want to call it, make sure that when you put it on your check that you write down remodel fund, and then I'll make sure that this particular person matches that 1-to-1, okay? Let's see if we can't raise some money so we don't have to dip into our savings too much. You can send us a check, P.O. Box 2502, or you can hit the donate button and put your comment in the comment section. So again, thank you everybody for your consideration of our remodel fund. Every dollar will help, and every dollar turns into $2, right? This is a good thing. So we have a Zoom gathering tonight at 5 o'clock, and Reverend Elizabeth should be with us, we sure hope. She's got a great sermon today. It is titled, Drawing the Circle Wide. You're going to love her message. Personal story of what transpired for her several years ago. And it's a very heartwarming story, and I think you'll get a great deal from it. So, Drawing the Circle Wide, 5 o'clock, Zoom. And be sure to check the midweek blast. Jim Negri is putting that out every Wednesday before noon. Got our calendar of upcoming events, flyers, things of interest. Check it out, sign up, show up, have a good time. Is there anything else that we need to do to proceed, or should we just check? Let's light our chalice. Catherine's here, and I invite you at home to light your own candle as we light our flame. These words are from Paul Sprecher. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who struggled for justice, and the love of those who've built beloved communities to carry on a light of hope. So we're ending up our month of February. We've got a couple of more weeks, this one and next week, but it is what's the Black History Month is February? Is that right, Tuvia? Mm-hmm. So we might have some interesting songs next week to honor that particular theme. Tuvia has offered to bring a couple of songs to us, so we're going to try to incorporate that into our service next week. So appreciate that, Tuvia. At this time, I'm going to invite Catherine to come on up, and she's going to do our joys and concerns. And yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. The theme for this month is beloved community, and aren't we just that? Yes, we are. Beloved to each other, beloved to the wider community, beloved to the world. So I'm going to start with our joys and concerns, and Sally is going to drop a shell each time. Yes. So the first concern, we'll start with concerns. Okay. Ray's niece and her husband, Katie, and what's his name? Eric. Have contacted COVID. They are they in Kansas? Kansas City. Kansas City. So he doesn't know how they got it, maybe they don't even know, but we wish them a very speedy recovery and hope that their youthfulness and strength, gets them to just sail through this. Yeah. Barb McLean is finally going to have her knee surgery. Since elective surgeries are opening up, and really wonderful for that, I mean, that's a joy and a concern. I mean, we want her to, to be perfect, and also, very happy she's doing this. So I'm going to mention Jennifer French. Yes. Yes, you said she's doing really good. Sally said she's doing really, really good.
This was for you, Jennifer. You're doing great. Yay! Back is coming back.
And I want to mention my friend Denise, who I said accidentally poured scalding water on her legs. She had second-degree burns all up and down. She is healing wonderfully. The doctors are amazed. And I know that we played a small part in that with our prayer. Prayer works, intention works.
The shells are magic.
Yes. No, we're magic.
Yeah,
we're magic. I have another joy. I spoke to a childhood friend, Betsy Gaynor, that I have not spoken to or seen in 55 years.
Oh my gosh.
We spoke for an hour and a half on the phone yesterday, and she sent me pictures of her artwork. I'm going to send her pictures of mine, and we're planning a meeting when COVID is over, and it's just amazing. Someone from Catholic grade school. It was just a wonderful hour and a half.
This is for Betsy.
Yes, that's for Betsy. And I have another joy, one more here for our care committee, because Xana has decided she's going to join me and Diane and Patty and Helen. And Helen will be back at some point. So we're going to divvy up some phone numbers and call more, and so that's, you'll know why she's calling all of a sudden, and she will tell you that. But I'm so grateful she's decided to help us out. We can all use that, because we can all use that little personal connection of a phone call.
Did I put a shell in?
I'll put another one.
Okay, I'll put another one. Thank you, Xana.
Okay. And this is for everyone we don't know about. How about one more there? Everyone we don't know about. Your joy or concern. Because the truth is that if peace can occur in one of us, it is possible in every other being, and we declare this to be so. Deep peace is inclusive. Love is inclusive. Let's make our smallest move from this understanding. I'd like a quote here. I'm going to have a little quote here from Science of Mind. He's the president right now, Science of Mind magazine, Reverend Edward Vilhoen. I hope that I'm pronouncing it right. When anchored in the spiritual values of oneness and kindness, we can successfully navigate these times, care for our neighbors, and inspire each other. And when one of us should forget the truth of our being, another one among us, through the bond of oneness, will undoubtedly help us remind each other. That is beloved community. Thank you very much. Now I invite you to enjoy our reading this morning titled Marginal Wisdom by Reverend Elizabeth. I hear it's beautiful.
And now, the words of Leslie Takahashi. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. Yet life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and of and. We are taught to see in absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, that the margins hold the center.
That's a great reading, Reverend Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing that. We're now going to have a musical interlude titled Draw the Circle Wide. I know we know this, we've heard it before. And it will be followed by today's sermon from Reverend Elizabeth with the same title, Draw the Circle Wide. It's a powerful message, so listen carefully.
There are moments in your life that can teach you a lot about the world you want to create in a very short period of time. One such moment, the one I'm going to talk about today, happened to me about 12 years ago. I was at a protest against white supremacy. Now, here, when I say white supremacy, I'm not talking about the way that we talk about white supremacy culture as a more expansive thing in the world today. White supremacy culture is real, it's important. It is part of all of our lives as we hold privilege or notice the privilege that we don't have. It seeps in through the cracks. But what I'm talking about here, the white supremacy that I was protesting against, I mean literally there was a picnic being put on by one of the Colorado chapters of the Aryan Nation. These folks were straight up neo-Nazis. And they had decided that it should be fine, non-controversial, kind of like the Kiwanis Club or the Shriners, that they could just hang out and be white supremacists together, just grilling burgers, contemplating genocide, playing frisbee, all in that park. And we did not agree. We did not agree, and we wanted to stop this gathering because there's something called the paradox of tolerance. It's a philosophical concept that Karl Popper wrote about, unsurprisingly, in 1945, right after the end of World War II. As people were trying to understand what it was that enabled the rise of fascism in Spain, in Italy, in Germany, what it was that had allowed for genocide on an unimaginable scale, Karl Popper wrote The Paradox of Tolerance, and it is this: if a tolerant society allows people who are intolerant, people who despise those unlike themselves, if that tolerant group allows intolerance to thrive, then the intolerant groups will eventually gain a critical mass, seize control, and destroy both the more tolerant people and the doctrine of tolerance itself. Any society which wishes to be inclusive and tolerant and welcoming of diversity, therefore, has just one thing which cannot be tolerated: intolerance itself. This is the paradox. And we've seen this at play in our own political systems recently, with a resurgence of overt neo-Nazi groups and the rise of Christian nationalism on the national stage. We saw last month people gathered, literally broke into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., on a mission to destroy a government and the people in it who they see as too tolerant, politicians willing to allow people of color to live and thrive free of police brutality, people too willing to offer immigrants and refugees things like human rights, dignity, too willing to allow gay and lesbian people joy and love in marriage, too willing to let transgender people have names and pronouns that reflect their sense of self. So there, about 12 years ago, neo-Nazi groups, these same neo-Nazi groups that have spread since then, were just sowing their seeds, gathering their people, hosting picnics where they could show that they're just regular Americans, eating burgers, McDonald's style, but a side of genocide with that. Tolerating the intolerance is a quick way to a society where there is no free or responsible search for truth and meaning, only conformity and oppression. So we were there, ready to stop this gathering, or at the very least to provide a clear message that no silent majority existed that would be okay with these kind of activities in this community. On that day in the park, we set up a line of protesters. We unfurled banners. We started to chant. And predictably, the neo-Nazis started to yell back, trying to escalate, insulting members of our side. First, they called us gay. Some of us enthusiastically agreed we were indeed really gay and also opposed to racism. They tried to imply some things about our moms. We said, we don't slut shame our moms. If she wants to do something, she can, but we love our moms. We let things roll off our back the best we could. We tried to find funny responses or ignore them. Some of what they said was funny. Some of it was awful. Some of it was infuriating. Some of it was hurtful. One of our people got mad, so angry about the racist language that was being hurled at us. He blew up. He started to yell, "You nasty, fat," and he was stopped. Gently but clearly, our people said, hey, these folks, they're awful. There is so much awful about them. But being overweight, being fat, that's not a moral issue. If we start using those kinds of insults, we are hurting people for the wrong reasons. We are using as an insult something we don't actually believe is wrong. This is not our values. He thought about it for a while we continued chanting. Then he stepped forward again, raised his hands, and yelled, "Hey, yo, your body is yours, and I'm sorry I said that, but also you're a racist, and that sucks." Okay, that's some okay messaging, inherent worth and all that. But this is the world I want to create. This is the world that Unitarian Universalist values offer to us as the beloved community that we can build together. In that moment, what was so powerful was that we were able to offer a strong primary ethical stance. There are no Nazis, there's no hate, not ever. We offered nuance. Your behavior choices are terrible. Racism is awful, but your inherent self, your body, you at your core, you're a worthy human. We are all humans together. We also offered a supportive community of our own, one in which folks knew that they could mess up, make mistakes, say the wrong thing, and we would help them to not hurt others and stop that harm. We'd let them know where we thought they'd gotten off track. We'd help them apologize and get right back into doing that central work of justice making and building a better world with us. That's a beloved community I can agree with. That's the circle, the boundaries, the width that we are offering and hoping for when we create Unitarian Universalist spaces. In both the Jewish and the Islamic traditions, there are commentaries on the core texts of faith. For the Quran, it's the Hadith, which helps to situate the writings of the Quran in the life of Muhammad and in the early Muslim community, adding context and nuance to the core of the religious text. For those who follow the teachings of Torah, there's Midrash, there's the Gemara, rabbinical commentaries, which create discussion and disagreement and develop the stories into law and daily practice for an evolving Jewish community living in a world where technology and culture changes over time. Our own Unitarian Universalist tradition provides something similar. James Luther Adams stated, "Religious liberalism depends on the principle that revelation is continuous." We believe this. We know in our core that the breadth of inclusion that we were able to offer 100 years ago is not as expansive as that which we offered 50 years ago, or 10 years ago, or yesterday. By tomorrow, when we know better, we will do even better, offering welcome to people of a greater diversity than ever before. So it has been, so it is, so it shall be. As we know better, we do better. We draw the circle wide and wider still, day by day. And though I hear critiques about the left, sometimes claiming that we create shame, that we have circular firing squads or cancel culture, I have to say more often than not, in those same leftist communities and in religious communities, liberal religious communities, we're well situated to hold the duality of boundaries for behavior and love for the person. The experience of that boy all those years ago, it wasn't and it didn't become a shameful experience. Primarily because the person being corrected didn't huddle into himself, didn't become defensive or deflecting, didn't become angry. He thought. He went, yeah, you're right. It's not the best of our values. If we are to build the beloved community, this is necessary for us. To be bold, to make mistakes, to accept correction, and to do better. If we are to build the beloved community, if we are to make love and justice roll down like waters, as the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said, if we are to draw the circle wide enough to hold all manner of difference and diversity in our communities and congregations, we will need to hold lightly to that wanting to be seen as people who do not make mistakes. We will need to let go of being so careful and measured that we do not mess up, but that we fail to act at an opportune moment. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from his jail cell in Birmingham in 1963, "First, I must confess that over the last few years I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' council-er or the Ku Klux Klan-er, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feels he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the myth of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will, and lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. This is a moment for courage, friends. I implore us not to be a lukewarm people, not to fall into that trap, not to be so infinitely tolerant that we have no firm boundaries or values, not to get stuck or stagnant like room temperature water left out to sit. Instead, we will need to value being true to our core values, fighting for justice in ways that make us proud of ourselves and each other. I know you can. We don't have to be passive or polite. We do have to be clear about what is up for discussion and what is not. We have to know that our inherent worth and dignity is not up for discussion. Our bodies, our identities, our race and sexuality and gender and so much more, all of those pieces that make up our core self, they are worthy of love and respect, and we will not accept anything less. But even then, we will draw clear boundaries against the words and actions of political and religious orientations that claim intolerance of other people's identities as a key belief and act in that way. We will draw the circle wide enough to hold all of our differences, all of our diversity. And that means that sometimes we will mess up. Sometimes we will communicate badly, because the greater the diversity that we foster and include, the more we allow for cultural difference that can lead to miscommunications, to accidents of stereotyping or assumptions. Sometimes we will hurt one another. And that doesn't mean we aren't beloved. Doing a racist action doesn't mean that you are racist forever. It means you messed up. Yet we are beloved and justice-oriented and welcoming when we take that next step. So it just means that we need to stop, huddle up as a community for a minute, figure out what happens next. Let's not be afraid to correct our course, even in the heat of the moment. People will respect you more for wrestling with complexity and being imperfect than they will if you try to deny and save face at the expense of shared values. Leave your options open. Take in feedback from friends and community. Something I learned in ministry is if you want to immediately respond to something because you feel misunderstood or you're upset at the characterization, those are almost always the moments not to speak up quickly. Let correction flow over you and be considered. You need not take in everything. You can be critical and thoughtful about what applies to you, but let it enter and sit with you. Allow for the fact that perhaps you have made a mistake, and perhaps your apology too might be nuanced. Yeah, I'm sorry for the insult, and we still have a big difference of opinion here. That's okay. As we commit to building the beloved community together, may we take this time to consider what it will be. May we build a world in which we do not tolerate intolerance. May we commit to building a world in which we hold on to our values tightly, but our preferences, our perceived necessity for comfort, more loosely, knowing that we are not unsafe when we are uncomfortable. May we have the consideration to try and follow the lead of those more marginalized than ourselves, to find the edges of the circle and draw it wider still. May we have the bravery to make mistakes, to come back together for repair. May we have the compassion to be with one another, in those times when it is difficult, when we communicate badly, when we say or do a racist thing, when we need each other's help to find our way back. May we try again and again and again to become better together. Thus may we build the beloved community by the work of our hands and of our hearts. Blessed be. And amen.
Thank you, Reverend Elizabeth. Great message. Great message. You've lived a very interesting life, I might add. Thank you for that. We move into our offertory now, and as you know, over the years, we contribute to a community partner as well as to ourselves. And what we raise for ourselves, helps to pay for our minister, our other outreach opportunities. And then we ask that you support one of our community partners. And February is the ending for supporting Saisla Outreach Services, commonly known as SOS. SOS helps those families and individuals who are struggling right now, whether they need clothing, sleeping bags, vouchers, whatever the case may be, help them pay their electricity. SOS is really, really an awesome organization, and I invite you to contribute to their success, as well as contribute or make your pledge payment of support to FOOF. Again, you can send a check to us, P.O. Box 2502, Florence 97439, or click the donate button on our website, and you can designate how much you'd like to come to FOOF and how much you want to go to SOS, and we'll take care of the details, okay? So as we move forward with our offering, I ask those at home and those here to repeat after me. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
All that I give.
All that I give.
And all that I receive.
And all that I receive.
I am prosperous now. Blessed be.
I am prosperous now. Blessed be.
Love it. Thank you, everyone. I invite Catherine to come back up. We're going to extinguish our flame. We invite you to do the same with your candle at home. This reading is titled The Work We Share by Krista Taves. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us, together in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be. So, we have a closing reading that Reverend Elizabeth selected for us. I will read the first part, and I ask those who are here today to read the responsive reading part. So this is by Elizabeth Mount. So thank you for that. Beloveds, may we become the community where justice makes its home.
Beloveds, by the work of our hands, guided by our hearts, may we bring love into being.
Beloveds, may we go forth along many paths which twist and turn, finding each bend which leads towards truth.
Beloveds, may we practice our faith each day to create a world in which being radically welcoming, spiritually alive, and justice-centered is not aspiration but reality.
Beloved, the community in which this all comes to pass.
Beloved, be the people who make it so.
So as you may have guessed, beloved community has been the theme of our services for February. The theme for services coming up in March is something called commitment. So stay tuned. We're going to close today with singing the peace song, which we all know, which we love. Jeff Lovejoy has recorded a piece, and I invite Catherine and two of you to come back up, and Jay and Ray, you're welcome to participate as we sing the peace song. Love you.
Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony.
Oh, that's lovely.
Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment.